These are two important natural sources by which we are surrounded. You all know that. This is the easiest section of the syllabus because you have been studying about air and water since you have been studying science in your junior classes in middle school. So many of the things will be repetition, only will be enhancing it vis-a-vis to O-level requirement. I go through the first 3 points and let you know also how to study these first 3 points. All of you focus. One is the definition of air. First we'll finish air, then we'll start with water next week. Air which is not visible, if you're asked to define air, you'll say it's not visible to naked eye, any substance which is not visible to naked eye and is felt as wind, which is a movement of air. So nobody is able to define air as such other than saying it's a homogeneous mixture of gases, solution of gases. Yes, Aman Beg, you have a question? Yes,
Yes, we
Aman.
cannot see your screen.
We cannot see.
The screen, the points.
You can't see they're not on the screen.
No, miss.
Well, I'll try to share it with you. Just see, just a minute. They're not on the screen. Just a minute, please. Okay, you just wait. I'm trying to put them on the screen. Yes, can you see on the screen now? Air. You defined it with point number 2, which is air is a homogeneous mixture of gases. A homogeneous mixture is also called solution. Now, I want to enhance once again your knowledge about homogeneous and heterogeneous mixture so that you are very clear about it. Sometimes you're asked, a homogeneous mixture is also called solution. Okay, one thing. Number 2, a mixture in which the components are not uniformly mixed into each other, like soil, like sand and water, is called heterogeneous mixture. A homogeneous mixture is the one in which the components of the mixture, may there be two or more than two, they are uniformly mixed into each other and have one phase only, PHASE, such as sugar and water when dissolved. You don't see separate sugar and separate water, right? Likewise, air, which is a mixture of gases, is a homogeneous mixture. And I'm very clear that you all have understood that a homogeneous mixture is also called solution. Now, just to further enhance your knowledge of grade 7 and 8, which your teachers must have taught, but I'm revising, that is, solution can be of 9 types. That is homogeneous mixture. Their physical state may be solid, liquid, or gas. Ultimate physical state, such as alloys, is a homogeneous mixture solution, and the physical state of alloys, which you have studied, is solid. Air, which is around us, is a homogeneous mixture, that is solution, and its physical state is gas. Is this clear? Likewise, seawater contain many minerals dissolved in it, is a homogeneous mixture, that is solution, but its physical state is liquid. Now, these are the 3 states of the homogeneous mixture called solution. As I've written in front of point 2, solution of gases. Is it clear? And since I told you that there are 9 types of solutions, depending upon the amount of solute and solvent and their physical states. As an example, I'll quickly quote, there may be a solution of gas as gas in gas, that is solute and solvent are both gases, as in case of your air. Then there can be a solution where solute is gas and solvent is liquid, like aerated drinks, Pepsi, Fanta. Third, there can be a solution in which the solute is solid and the solvent is a gas, such as dust particles in air. So likewise, we can make 9 types of solutions depending on the physical state of solute and solvent. I will not go further beyond it, but I think I have triggered your mind to think why air is called a homogeneous mixture of gases. It means this mixture contains a solvent, which is nitrogen, since it is present in the largest amount, since it is present in the largest amount as, since it is 78%, and the other components like oxygen, 20 to 21%, carbon dioxide 0.3%, rare gases, mostly argon in it, 1%, water vapors and dust particles, their amount vary according to location, weather, season, whatever. So you'll see that the largest component in this solution of gases called air is nitrogen gas. And that is the definition of solvent. Solvent means that component which is present in the largest amount in a mixture, homogeneous mixture, which is called solution. Rest of them are called solutes. So here oxygen, carbon dioxide, rare gases, water vapor, and dust particles in variable amounts are the solutes. Why am I emphasizing on this basic fact, though it's class 7th and 8th concept? The reason is sometimes MCQs come. They may refer to you a solution and they ask you which one of in them is the solvent and which is the solute. They may give you different a solution and ask you that. So you should be very clear about the definition of solute and solvent as well. Solute is always something which is dissolved in a solvent. So obviously solvent is always the largest amount in the mixture. May the mixture be of 2 components or of 100 components. One of the component which is in the largest amount is referred as solvent and rest of them as solutes. So my young friends, I'm so sure that these first three points basically are clear to you all, and you already knew it. And can you imagine that 1 mark question usually come in the theory paper asking you the percentage exact of nitrogen and oxygen. Practically, the air is considered to be a mixture of these two because it makes almost 98%. So very less inert gases and some carbon dioxide. So basically, these are the 2 major components of air. So in the sometime in the present Cambridge syllabus, they are referring oxygen percentage as 20% and nitrogen as 78, or referring 21%. So both of them are acceptable as I've seen in the marking keys. But the percentage of nitrogen is always 78. It's fixed. Is it clear? Now I'm coming to point 4. Since Azan is on, so I'll wait, you just hold for 1 minute. Discussion over it. I'm moving slow for all the students who are here, so everyone understands. So sometimes I get a remark that I should go a little faster. The objective of moving slow and repetition is that if anyone has joined late or not understanding or sleeping partially, at least if I keep drilling, something will go in the mind of everyone. Now, when the word mixture comes, it means various connected facts come along with it. One fact is that physical methods can be used to separate a mixture. You know the names of physical methods you have studied in section 1. If I ask Ali Asad, please, I'm unmuting Ali Asad. Ali Asad, can you please name some of the physical methods? Ali Asad, raise your hand. Yes, you are here. So tell me that what are the different names of physical methods to separate?
Yes, miss. Can you repeat the question?
Yes, I will repeat. Ali Asad, can you name only the physical methods used to separate any mixture? Just name the methods. Yes. I'll start with the easiest one, filtration. You move ahead. Ali Asad, can you name them, please?
Fractional distillation.
Very good. Any other?
And miss, by
याद
using
करो,
separating funnel.
सेपरेटिंग फनल, शाबाश. आगे और याद करो, आराम से करो, कोई जल्दी नहीं है, सोचो. 3 हो गए, 2 और बता दो बस, मैं खुश हो जाऊंगी यार। एक एक जिसे कलर डाइज सेपरेट करते हैं, व्हाट इज दैट कॉल्ड?
Chromatography.
यस, पेपर क्रोमेटोग्राफी। और जी, जिससे व्हेन वी सेपरेट, सेलिनेशन किसे करते हैं, डिसेलिनेशन ऑफ सी वाटर?
Miss, वो तो the distillation.
सिंपल डिस्टिलेशन।
Yes.
ये just imagine this is sometime an MCQ. Name one of the, which one of the following method is used for separating a mixture of salt and water? And they give you 5: sodium chloride and water, and one of the choices out of the 4 choices, one is simple distillation. So my dear students, when you focus on point 4, now I'm muting you all. Now listen, the evidence that air is a mixture of gases, यानी ये हमने प्रूव करना है कि air mixture of gases है. What is the best evidence is that we can separate the components by any of the physical methods. 5 of them, Ali Asad and me myself has named them. There are many more, right? Other than these 5, not only the sieving and decantation and many other methods available to separate, but the common one are fractional distillation, filtration, simple distillation, paper chromatography, separating funnel, right? These are the common ones which we come across usually. A compound cannot be separated by any of these methods. For example, if you are in a doubt that water is a mixture and sugar, glucose is a mixture, then you should be able to separate its components if they are present, if it's a mixture, by any of these methods. You cannot. You use chemical methods to decompose a compound, which we have studied briefly in metals, thermal decomposition of compounds, right? So the best evidence to, if a question asks, how can you prove that air is a mixture of gases? You'll say, we can separate, if we are able to separate the components of air by any of one of the physical methods, such as this, then it means that air or any substance around us is a mixture. As we can separate the components of alloys, brass, bronze, by different physical methods, as the way we combine them by physical methods. Now, the physical method which is used to separate air into its components, which you know, I have discussed in point 3, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and all that. The processes are two physical methods we use. First, to liquefy air into liquid state. How we will do that industrially, I'll briefly explain you. And then we will separate the liquid air into its main components, which are argon, oxygen, and nitrogen, through fractional distillation. Now the question arises that in industry, how do we liquefy air? How can we change the mixture of air into liquid air? The very first thing which we have to do is to get rid of the dust particles and carbon dioxide of air before it is, and water vapors before it is liquefied. The reason is, if we liquefy the air with dust particles and carbon dioxide and water, the liquid air will be at a temperature of minus 200 degrees Celsius. The temperature of liquid air is minus 200 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, water will be in the form of blocks of solid ice, and carbon dioxide, whose liquid at minus 76, which is much higher than minus 200, will be solid. And dust particles, if present in liquid air, they won't melt, but they will clog the fractionating column. So these 3 substances have to be removed from the air before it is liquefied. That is the dust particles. How do we remove them? Through different filters. Industrial method, you don't have to go into details. Electrostatic chambers are there which magnetize these dust particles and remove them. So we don't have to go into details of the methods industrial. How do we remove carbon dioxide? You all know that this mixture of air is passed through alkali like sodium hydroxide, and carbon dioxide is removed as sodium carbonate, and rest of the air comes out. And how do we remove water? With the help of drying agent. Air is passed through drying agents, so like silica gel or silica sand. It will absorb the moisture of the air. And now we are left with air which is contained inert gases, that is argon mostly. 88 or 90% is argon in it out of the 1%, 90% of 1%, and nitrogen and oxygen. So young friends, I hope you have understood. Otherwise, I'll ask you. You can ask me question after I explained point 6 and 7, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Now the air which is left is bluish in color, and the air which is left now is clean, sorry, of dust particles, carbon dioxide and water vapors. Now it is liquefied. How? By compressing it to 100 atmosphere or more pressure, and then allowing it to expand. And this expansion and compression cycle is repeated so that its temperature falls to minus 200 Celsius. There, this liquid air will be bluish color liquid, and this blue color liquid is usually due to the presence of liquid oxygen in it. If such a question comes, that why the liquid air is blue in color, is because of the oxygen, light blue in color. Nitrogen doesn't impart color to the liquid. As someone can see that why the sky is blue when the sky is very clean, it's blue because of the presence of oxygen. It's not that blue in color, but it liquefies it gives a hue of blue color. But the main reason of liquid air to be pale blue, light blue in color is the presence of liquid oxygen in it. So now we have liquid air at the temperature of minus 200. Just imagine the low temperature. This liquid air is passed into the fractionating column. You have studied about fractional distillation, where it is slowly warmed up. So the gas with the lowest boiling point boils off first as nitrogen with a boiling point of minus 196 Celsius, is removed from the top of the column and is stored in cylinders, pressurized cylinders. Then boils off the argon gas, which is minus 86. Again, very cool temperature, very cold. And then it is boiled off, and then in the end, the lowest portion, we get our oxygen at the temperature of 183. Very important to remember, minus 183. So by mistake, I have not put minus in 18 before 183. So it is there, okay, at minus 183. It is on the above line. So please make sure that it's not 183, it's minus 183. Okay, is this clear? Now the question I want to repeat before I ask you questions, that just to repeat, that fractional distillation is a process which is based on the physical property of different boiling points of the components in a mixture. In a fractionating column, the least boiling point fraction is separated from the top, and the maximum boiling point fraction is separated from the lowest portion of the column, which is minus 183. As minus 183 is more than minus 186 and minus 196. Now, my dear students, I have briefly explained you 4, 5, 6, and 7. Various questions come in the exam on these 4 points. I will unmute you, and you have to raise your hand if you have any concern related to these 4 points. Yes. Yes, Abdullah Akil. Raise your hand. Abdullah Rafi. Abdullah Akil wants to ask. Yes. Abdullah Akil, I'm unmuting you.
Miss, I want to ask, Miss, what is the to the air when we start the separation?
Again, repeat the question, please.
हम एयर को जब सेपरेट उसके हमने मिस फिजिकल मेथड से सेपरेट करना होता है, सबसे पहले क्या चीज करते हैं हम?
सबसे पहले किसको करते हैं सेपरेट? मतलब क्वेश्चन आपका नहीं समझी कि फिजिकल मेथड्स में बेटा 2 मेथड्स हैं, टू लिक्विफाई फर्स्ट, टू लिक्विफाई द एयर एंड देन टू डू फ्रैक्शनल डिस्टिलेशन ऑफ लिक्विड एयर. योर क्वेश्चन इज लिक्विफाई कैसे करते हैं? अच्छा, अब तुम्हें यू नो दैट यू हैव स्टडीड फिजिक्स. When a pressure is applied to a gas, the particles come closer to each other. Do you agree with that? Do
Yes,
you agree with?
miss.
Yes, please just answer back quickly. When the pressure is applied to a gas or a mixture of gases, the particles of the gas particles, they come nearer to each other, and according to kinetic theory, their physical states start changing and they start
Yes,
losing
convert.
heat, right?
Yes, miss.
Then we allow to
Yes.
expand that air. Again, the work is done. So again, the heat energy of the particles are used up in expansion and temperature falls further. Now, if this cycle of compression and expansion is repeated many times in industry, the mixture of air will lose its heat content to that extent that it goes from industrial temperature to minus 200 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, you know, obviously the gas particles will come very close and change their physical state to liquid. So the air changes into liquid air. The gaseous mixture of air changes into a gaseous mixture in liquid state. Is this clear?
Yes.
अकील
Yes.
समझ आ गया ना बेटा? ये compression और
जी, मिस आ
expansion की
गया।
cycle है जो temperature को -200 पे ले आती है. और जब temperature
ठीक है
कम
मिस।
होगा, particles will come closer to each other. When they come closer to each other, it means they are changing their physical state also according to kinetic theory. Because you know in liquid the particles come
Yes.
closer compared to gases, and at minus 200 degrees Celsius, if we further do decrease the temperature, the liquid air will change into solid, right? But at
Yes.
minus 200 degrees Celsius, we have to maintain this temperature in the fractionating column, and then we slightly warm it. When we slightly warm it, the temperature increases. When temperature increases,
Okay.
the component with the lowest boiling point, that is minus 196 for nitrogen is first given off first, then argon minus 186, which is higher than minus 183, lesser than minus 183, sorry. And minus 183, the highest boiling point, is separated from the last. I hope you have understood, Akir. समझ आ गया बेटा? Okay, शाबाश. Any other one has to ask a question, please raise your hand till point 8, which I have explained. Because the exam question is briefly outline the fractional distillation of liquid air. 3 marks. The answer to it is a combination of 7 and 8. Points to remember, 7 and 8. This question, Ahmed Shafiq? Yes, Ahmed Shafiq, you have a question or yes? Ahmed Shafiq,
हमने
I'm
टेम्परेचर
unmuting you. जी जनाब.
हमने टेम्परेचर भी याद करना होता है सारों का
ऊंचा बोलिए गजा क्लियर.
बस हमने टेम्परेचर याद करना होता है कि किस टेम्परेचर पे बॉईल होंगी कैसे
ये क्वेश्चन में क्लियर नहीं हुआ, बिल्कुल नहीं क्लियर हुआ आपका. तब ये बेटे एक दफा और रिपीट करेंगे.
बस जैसे कि ना हमने याद करना होता है कि कौन गैसेस किस टेम्परेचर पे बॉईल होंगी.
क्या बॉईल होंगी, ये कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा क्या बोल रहे हैं आप. द इंग्लिश में
नाइट्रोजन
be loud and clear. Yes, please repeat. Ahmed Shafiq, बेटा loudly बोलिए. शाबाश. Don't feel discouraged if I don't listen clearly. Actually, I didn't listen clearly. You're talking of the separation.
नहीं मिस मैं पूछ रहा था कि हमने याद करना होगा कि गैसेस किस टेम्परेचर पे बॉईल होंगी.
राजद क्या बॉइल डाउन, आप गैसेस किस टेम्परेचर पे बॉइल होंगे बेटा? ये पूछो. लिक्विड एयर का जो बॉइलिंग पॉइंट है ना वो -200 डिग्री. द टेम्परेचर फॉल्स टू -200 एंड द गैस चेंज इनटू, उसको टेम्परेचर और हाई करेंगे तो वो बॉइल होगा. अब जो बॉइलिंग पॉइंट है आपका, मतलब आप फ्रैक्शनल डिस्टिलेशन के कॉन्सेप्ट को क्लियर कीजिए. Fractional distillation is always applied to a mixture which is in liquid state. The air changes into liquid at -200 degrees Celsius. Is it clear? Then it is warmed slightly. वार्म करेंगे तो टेम्परेचर -2 से कम, 200 से कम होगा ना, यानी ज्यादा हो गया नहीं, -199 होगा. -199 is bigger than -200. And when the temperature goes to -196, which is the boiling point of nitrogen gas, right? It's a higher. That's why we are warming the fractionating column. At -196, which is the boiling point of nitrogen gas in the mixture, it will boil off. And then at -186, oxygen it's a boiling point of oxygen gas, it will boil off. Then on warming further, because the lowest portion of the column is the warmest, at minus 183, which is the highest temperature in the column of these gases, will be taken off from the lowest portion and will be put into stored under pressure cylinders. So this is the concept. I hope it's clear now, Ahmed Shafiq. Okay, because this is what I gauge from your question. You were asking about the boiling points, so I've explained you. Okay, young friends, let's move ahead to point 9 and 10. Now the approximate composition of air is showing that it contains, you know that approximate composition is that it contains 1/5 of oxygen gas, because 20 to 21% means 1/5 of 100, and 4/5 of your nitrogen gas, because 78% is almost 4/5 of your nitrogen gas experiment. We can show this composition by two important experiments, and that is, if you focus on point number 10, which is also supported by diagrams, that is two experiment. Number one experiment is, if you look at this diagram, estimation of proportion by volume of oxygen in air using a burning candle. I'll explain this diagram. The slide is in front of you, and it's a diagram of grade 5 and 6. Even you can do it at home. There's a water trough in which there's a shelf on which a burning candle is standing. On the top of it, we place a gas cylinder, a measuring cylinder, upside down, and it's graduated. That is, you can see the graduation scale on it. When we place, and since this measuring cylinder is full of air, you know, though it's not visible, but there's air in it. When we invert over the burning candle, after some time, we'll see the burning candle extinguishes, because all the oxygen of the air present in the gas cylinder, is consumed. And since a vacuum is created and vacuum can't be created, so you'll see on this second diagram, the water has risen 1/5 of the whole measuring cylinder, showing that 1/5 of the air, whatever the amount of air was in the gas cylinder, 1/5 of it has been used on burning, and it is, this empty place is filled by water which has risen up, pulled up, sucked up because of because of less pressure in the gas cylinder. Now this experiment proves that 1/5 of your the air as a mixture is oxygen gas. So a simple experiment. There's another experiment I'll show you, which usually come in the exam and ask you to explain. Here, this is an important experiment. It also explains 1/5 of the air is oxygen. When you come to know that 1/5 of the air is oxygen, then 4/5 will be the nitrogen approximately. We are ignoring the amount of argon and carbon dioxide. So it's approximate amount. Now this experiment is very important, so please try to understand. You'll see that there is a tube, combustion tube, connected to two gas syringes with movable pistons. The combustion tube is made up of a hard glass tube. It's silica. It's a very combustion tube that it can resist not to be broken down by excess heating. And this combustion tube contain some pieces of copper turnings, we call a pink solid. Turning is just the physical pieces. You know, when we take small pieces of copper which are not very straight but in a turning form, जिसको क्या कहते हैं मुड़े हुए थोड़े से, तो turnings कहते हैं, copper turning. Turning is not a chemical word, it's just showing that small pieces present not in powder but in small pieces turned around. These pure copper is placed in this combustion tube, and the two gas syringes which are attached on the combustion tube are filled of oxygen. Yes, Ali Asad, do you have a question in between? You can ask me. Yes, Ali Asad.
Miss, due to the connection problems, I had to leave the meeting. Can you just tell me what are we doing?
I mean, about the experiment, the one which I am explaining.
Yes, miss.
So please, I'll repeat it. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, miss.
Okay, please. A combustion tube is there in the diagram, which is holding small pieces of copper. A combustion tube is made up of hard glass, silica, so it can resist being the heat and it does not break on excess heating. Now this combustion, combustion, hard glass tube, is connected with two gas syringes which are filled with air, obviously. Now what we have to do, how to perform this experiment? We'll heat the combustion tube and push the movable piston of one of the gas syringe so that all the air passes into the combustion tube and react with the copper and then goes to gas syringe number 2. Then we push back the air to gas over the combustion tube and then pass it to the previous gas syringe. This repeated passing of the air from filled gas syringe, which was filled with oxygen, to the gas syringe which was closed, the air will come to it, and this will continue passing from left to right until we'll see the volume of the gas in one of the syringe remains constant. It means all the oxygen has been used up. How? Because the copper has reacted with the oxygen in the presence of air to form copper 2 oxide. Copper plus oxygen, you can see also in the diagram, it's partially cut down. Copper plus oxygen giving us copper 2 oxide solid. When all the oxygen of the air has been used by the copper, the amount of the air will become constant in either one of the gas syringe, which will show that 1/5 of the air has been used and the 4/5 of the air is still in the gas syringe because we can read it on the measuring on the scale of the gas syringe. So this is a second experiment which proves that 1/5 of your air is your oxygen, and obviously 4/5 will be then rest of it will be nitrogen. Okay. Now I'm asking you, do you have any question? I'm unmuting you. There's a student asking me about the test. Yes, in the end, I'll ask few students some questions. Yes, whoever is asking, please focus on the experiment I've explained. Any question over 9 and 10 points, which I've explained, the experiments? If you have any, please raise your hand. Yes. A student is repeatedly asking me, that test होगा? बेटा होगा आखिरी 10 मिनटों में. आप आराम से बैठिए, जिससे मैं पूछूंगी, that will be my choice today. Anyone has a question?
Yes, miss. Miss, I'm unclear about this diagram. कि हम लोगों को पता है कैसे चलेगा कि 1/5 वो यूज हुआ, मतलब यहाँ पे बर्न कैसे होगी ऑक्सीजन?
आपने एक 100 दोनों तरफ गैस सिलेंडर रखे हुए ना, एक गैस सिलेंडर में आप बिल्कुल क्लोज किया हुआ है आपने पिस्टन, उसमें एयर नहीं है. एक में आपने समझे गैस सिलेंडर 100 cm³ का है, ठीक है जी, उसमें 100 cm³ एयर है. देखिए डायग्राम को देखिए गौर से. अब वो 100 cm³ एयर जो है वो एक गैस सिलेंडर से होती है, दूसरे गैस सिलेंडर में जाती है, फिर वापस आती है, फिर जाती है, अंटिल की सारी उसमें से ऑक्सीजन कॉपर रिएक्ट कर जाता है. ठीक है जी, कॉपर प्लस ऑक्सीजन गिव अस कॉपर 2 ऑक्साइड. अब आखिर में जो एक गैस सिलेंडर में जब एयर आएगी तो वो उसकी कितनी 1/5 यूज हो चुकी होगी, यानी वो सिर्फ 75% रहे. 75% दैट इज 1/5 मींस 20 to 21% इज ऑलमोस्ट 1/5 राइट, विल बी यूज्ड अप. इस तरह हमें पता चल जाएगा कि ये वॉल्यूम एयर का कम हो गया 100 cm³ से, अबाउट 1/5. You understand now?
Yes, sir.
This is approximate experiment. It will not, because you know that it says it gives you the approximate percentage. और जब वॉल्यूम कांस्टेंट हो जाएगा इन गैस सिलेंडर में, राइट, तो हम समझेंगे कि अब no more oxygen is there which could react with the copper, because nitrogen is very inert. It does not react with copper at ordinary heating. It will remain intact. Is this clear? ठीक है जी. Any other question? Please raise your hand, because then after this there will be a quiz on metals. Any other question, please? Okay, young friends. Today's no. Yes, please. Bilal Ahmed, do you have a question? Yes, Bilal?
यस मिस अगर एक क्वेश्चन आए कि हाउ कैन वी टेल एयर इज अ मिक्सचर तो मिस हम वो कैसे अटेम्प्ट करेंगे
Acha, how can you tell air is a mixture?
यस मिस
You know, there are different ways we can prove that air is a mixture. Either one of the experiments will also show, because in a mixture, the components are independent and can be separated or removed from each other. We have removed one of the component, oxygen, by burning of candle. We have removed one of the component of mixture by burning the air with copper. Compound में इस तरह नहीं होगा. Number two, we can prove it by separating the components. If you are able to separate the components of air by any of the physical method, that will prove us that air is a mixture. Is it clear? So these are the two different ways we can prove that air is a mixture. And then each component of the air will exhibit its own chemical properties. That is, oxygen is required for combustion, nitrogen is not required. So nitrogen, if you burn something in air, only oxygen is used up and nitrogen is left behind. Is this clear? So these are the various explanations you can give with experiments or with theoretically. Is it clear now? Is it clear, please? Yes, Bilal asked me this question. Okay. Raise up your hand if you have any other question. Fine. Now I'll come to the quiz program of today. So all I want you people to be alert. When I name a student, myself, that student has to